If you were given 30 minutes to sit down with God, what would you ask? Imagine that moment. You're face to face with the source of all existence and you have one question. What would it be? Most people, when faced with this idea, feel overwhelmed. Some might freeze entirely, unsure of what to ask. But for many, the ultimate question boils down to something deeply personal like, who am I? It's a question so fundamental yet so elusive. Who are we really? What is this thing we call I? It's a puzzle that has fascinated philosophers and scientists and spiritual seekers for centuries. The strange thing is, we live so close to this I that it's almost impossible to inspect. It's like trying to bite your own teeth. Touch the tip of your finger with the same finger. It's always just out of reach. I'm Roach, Mark Roach. Welcome to Transcendent, my YouTube channel where I share my journey around the world through life, crossing the wide spectrum of human experience from high to low, as most people in American society define them. This channel is all about inspiring common people to find their power. So let's dive into this idea of this self, this I that we all feel so intimately but understand so little. When we think about ourselves, we often talk about my body or my mind as if these things are possessions rather than part of who we are. We go to the doctor and we treat our bodies like machines in need of repair. We say things like my heart, my brain, or even my thoughts. But who is the owner of these things? Is there a central self hiding somewhere in our heads, behind our eyes? Many people believe that their true self resides somewhere in their brain. A little controller sitting between the ears, steering the ship of their body through life. But is that really true? Here's where things get even more interesting. Our language reflects this sense of separation between ourselves and everything else. We talk about facing reality or coming into this world as if we were dropped here from somewhere else entirely. This way of thinking makes us feel like outsiders, like visitors in a world that isn't really ours. And this feeling has only deepened over time. In the past, many people believed in a universe centered around humanity, a universe created and cared for by a loving God who watched over us like a parent. But as science has expanded our understanding of the cosmos, that comforting image has faded for many of us. Now we see ourselves as tiny specks on an insignificant planet, orbiting an average star in a galaxy among billions. This perspective can be humbling or downright depressing. It makes us feel small and disconnected from the universe around us. And without that old religious framework to give us meaning, many people feel lost. But here's the twist. What if this sense of separation is really just an illusion? What if the idea that you are separate, self, cut off from the rest of the world, is simply wrong? Alan Watts, a philosopher whose ideas came to inspire many people, he argued that this belief in separateness is one of humanity's He argued that this belief in separateness is one of humanity's greatest misunderstandings. He called it the ego illusion. According to Watts, we don't come into this world, we come out of it. Just as leaves grow on a tree or waves rise from the ocean, we emerge from the universe itself. We're not strangers here, we're expressions of everything around us. Think about it this way. Your body isn't just a machine carrying around the brain, it's part of an intricate web of life. Every breath you take connects you to the plants producing oxygen and the animals exhaling carbon dioxide. Every bite of food ties you to the soil, water, and sunlight that made it possible. You're not separate from nature, you are nature. But our modern way of thinking often ignores this connection. In fact, it actively fights against it. Over centuries, Western culture embraced a worldview that sees nature as something mechanical, cold, and unfeeling, a thing to be controlled or conquered rather than lived with harmoniously. This mindset gave rise to incredible technological advancements, but also led to environmental destruction on an unprecedented scale. Take pollution as an example. Cities like Los Angeles produce massive amounts of smog, poisoning the very air that we breathe. All in pursuit of progress and convenience, we treated our planet like a resource to exploit rather than a home to care for. This disconnect isn't just about how we treat nature. It's about how we see ourselves within society and even within our own bodies. We often act as though different parts of ourselves are at war, the mind versus the body, logic versus emotion, as if one must dominate the other for us to function properly. But Watts suggests a different way of looking at things. Instead of seeing life as a battle between opposing forces, what if we saw it as a dance? In a dance, every step works together with every other step to create something beautiful. The same is true for our bodies and minds and for humanity's relationship with nature. This brings us back to democracy and religion, two areas where our senses of separation has caused significant problems. Democracy thrives on the idea that everyone has a voice, that no single person or group holds all the power. But when individuals see themselves as isolated egos rather than interconnected parts of the whole, democracy struggles. People become more focused on protecting their personal interests than on working together for their common good. Religion faces similar challenges. Many traditional religious teachings emphasize obedience to an external authority, whether that's God or sacred text, rather than encouraging individuals to explore their own connection with the divine. This approach can create guilt and fear rather than love and understanding. Watts believed that both democracy and religion could benefit from embracing interconnectedness instead of separateness. In democracy, recognizing our shared humanity could lead to greater cooperation and compassion in politics and society at large. In religion, moving away from rigid doctrines toward personal exploration could help people find deeper meaning in their lives. So how do we make this shift from seeing ourselves as separate egos or recognizing our place within an interconnected whole? It starts with changing how we think about identity itself. Imagine tying a knot in a rope made up of different materials, cotton here, silk there, and sliding that knot along its length over time. The knot remains recognizable even though its composition changes constantly as new fibers pass through it. That's what you are. Not a fixed thing, but an ever-changing process shaped by your environment and experiences. Understanding this can transform how you relate not only to yourself, but also to others and even to technology. Instead of using technology aggressively against nature, as we humans often do, we could use it thoughtfully to enhance life without destroying ecosystems or depleting resources unnecessarily. The key lies in shifting our perspective, not just intellectually, but emotionally too, so that we feel connected rather than isolated, empowering rather than alienated, part of the dance rather than looking outside and looking in, and outside looking in. This isn't easy work. It requires unlearning deeply ingrained habits, but it's worth pursuing because it holds immense potential for personal growth and collective healing. So the next time you find yourself wondering who you really are or feeling overwhelmed by everything happening around you, remember this: you're not alone because you are everything and everything is you. Here's a quick summary of this video. Number one, the concept of I is deeply misunderstood. It's not separate from, but part of everything else. Number two, modern culture fosters disconnection from nature and each other. Alan Watts argued ego separation harms democracy and religion alike. 4, recognizing interdependence transforms politics and spirituality into tools for unity. 5, technology must evolve with ecological awareness, not against the earth. 6, true richness isn't money, it's harmony between self and environment, a balance. I'm Mark Roach, wishing you peace on your journey toward transcendence and all the best.